And we're back. It is some more CGL Season 16 action. Now, jumping up a little bit to that Masters tier, I'm Neva, joined by the wonderful Thor, and we're going to be covering a really interesting matchup between a returning team and kind of a newish team to the Masters tier. At least a couple of players that you may recognize of, some champions from last season's Diamond team or Diamond division. Thor, we have Low Ground Main, we have the Fallen. Are you ready?
I mean, I'm ready as will ever be. We are at that week 2 point of the CGL season, so pretty early on. Teams still have stuff to show, maybe some things to peek around. And for some of those who just moved up in a tier, more experience in playing something a bit more challenging than what they might be used to. So, only way to get started is to really take a look at where we are going to be headed first.
Absolutely. Of course, we're on a week by week basis. So for round two, we're starting things off on the sunny beaches of Samoa for control, as always. And you did kind of highlight that Diamond team coming up, or some of the Diamond players coming up into Masters, and arguably into a very, I would say, one of the more difficult matchups into Low Ground Main. As a reminder, placing third just last season of CGL Season 15 in the playoffs bracket. Just kind of going crazy, only falling 1-3 technically, and just kind of securing that third place spot. So they're coming in with this kind of like confidence, I would say, knowing, hey, we got playoffs, we got top three. These guys, yeah, you won your little division a couple of times. Your players were popping off in the Diamond tier, but these are the difference here can in fact be that monumental. But I definitely know some of these players from the Fallen. They put in that work. They scrim a lot. They love this game. They love to improve. So I am really excited to see this kind of new gen versus the old guard coming in, or quote unquote new gen.
Yeah, exactly. And let's be real, this is a set of new gens that they some of them did have that experience, but some of these players are pretty new one way or another. But Samoa is going to be our first map, and if there's one thing I think we briefly talked about during the prep of this was just really that Samoa as a map is a bit wonky for some, right? I think as one of the newer maps in Overwatch in general, people still are could still be still getting their footing in it one way or another, right? You can get more practice in it in scrims, but definitely in the regular old world of competitive ranked Overwatch, it's a whole different other story.
Absolutely, and you're really right in that regard. Samoa having been out for a bit now, but still one of the newer control maps available to us, only really rivaled by Antarctic Peninsula, but that's neither here nor there. And it's not really shown in a lot of tournament map pools between the official WCS map pool for past couple of seasons into your Calling All Heroes into your other season of CGL. It's not that popular as a selection, and it could be listed, but teams typically gear away from it. So with that being said, with Samoa in the forefront, you're looking at what Low Ground Main might ban here, and you're kind of scoping out the scene, so it might just be a more of a standard ban, and Venture being the option here. I'm not surprised. They're fantastic on these control and flashpoint map types, and to have them banned out makes complete sense.
And I think a venture ban good on its own, but I think it also might be one way of protecting what characters that low ground main would want to play on their respective compositions. There are characters like maybe May that's still viable in a map like Samoa in Volcano for one, or I think it was Volcano. Yeah, in Volcano. And then the rest is really just you have a bit more flexibility. So if you're trying to keep the DPS line in a certain manner that you want it to be, I think that's a decent ban. So if I'm the Fallen, though, you're probably banning a tank, and it might be a tank that you'd rather not play against, or one where you're trying to hit the momentum towards one way. But I say that the Fallen are banning a Lucio instead. So we're already seeing what could be the possible compositions in this, right? Normally back then it used to be automatically assumed to be a Brig Juno kind of setup, but I think there is a case to be made of something a bit more hokey momentum disruption based, and there have been people playing Wuyang into these types of control maps.
Oh yeah, Wu Yong. I mean, I kind of forget about him a little bit, but he has been so strong, especially in that aforementioned pro play. And I'm glad you mentioned him, especially with the Lucio ban coming into effect. Now we are gonna be seeing these lineups of our beautiful players. So coming in very strong. Again, third place last year. We have low groundman coming through. We have Pred. We have Kind, high quality Saucer, and Swag Daddy 69. The last time I'm saying your tag, buddy. We got Swag on the Zenyatta as well in that back line with Saucer, with that, that kind of Lucio favorite, but unfortunately, gotta put the frog in the bag. We're gonna find a different character to supplement that main support role.
Yep. But on the other side, just trying to weasel their way into this Masters tier are a couple of new faces and also people we've seen before, right? We have Dex and Beno Games on that DPS line. Perf running that tank and rounding it up Nyan Mudkip and Wander, who is already showing that Wuyang, so that might already give us a hint on what type of tempo they want to play.
Yeah, I'm ready for this backline. You're ready to getting Lucio, so you don't have speed boost, you don't have amp, you don't have anything like that. So you kind of have to supplement it in some way, shape, or form, either by being hyper aggressive or hyper defensive. And Wu Yang kind of does a little bit of both. He's pretty aggressive. He can get out very quickly, kind of like a Lucio. It just the speed of himself being able to turn it away. And then you have that tidal wave that just gives that damage or that healing amplified on top of that. So he's kind of a I think he's a really interesting character. He's a super interesting one. So I really hope that I do see Wander and possibly either Saucer, Swag, or Neon also, and maybe pick up the character at some point in these games. But I do see that Benno Games does have Venture as a selected character, as a favorite for himself. So, funnily enough, we're not going to be able to see that character whatsoever. Here are your head-to-heads. Who goes against what? Who is going to be coming out on top on Samoa? Again, a map we don't see that often. And we're starting things off very favorably on the sub-map of the beach.
I think the beach has to be one of the more entertaining maps to play, right? The sea shaped high grounds require teams to fight for those spaces right away and to really hold those angles. Rarely do you see teams drop to that point right away, really just focusing on clearing out the high ground to have it in their favor. So you already know that bridge area is going to be super important in that initial fight. And along the way is also going to be the picks. Already both teams showing what type of composition they plan to run out with. Yes, it's going to be this Kiri Wuyang, which we have seen in pro play, but also in other tournaments. So this seems to be that bread and butter composition that's being run. And for everything else, it seems more varied from both sides. I'm not too surprised if these Symmetra switch to a divier type of hero, and that's exactly what is happening. So only thing the same here is that backline and that Genji for these two teams.
Absolutely. We have Pred also on Cassidy, a character that is going to be pretty much the victim of Perf's Winston more often than not. As you can already see, Perf is in there going for that aggression, but you can see how quickly low grounding disperse one another. But like I predicted myself, Pred will be the victim of the day, kind finding the one up by getting rid of their mirror match. So with that being said, we're going to see Pred swap in the spawn room to Tracer. The point will be going in favor of the Fallen first and foremost, as the objective is continuously being fought over. Pred finding Saucer. We just now get Pred back in the fight, losing out our Kiriko, though. You gotta be really careful if you're the side of the Fallen of low ground, as they are still fighting on this high ground, but need to start retreating because they're kind of just staggering in a little bit too much and giving this free 20% pretty much towards the side of the Fallen.
Yep. Point for the Fallen, and already ticking up in percentage. Dex already close to that pulse bomb, and that's considering I think they're been doing a lot of work diving in with Herf. So the picks going along their way, and I'm expecting this pulse bomb to be at least something that tries to either get maybe this hazard very low, or maybe even try to get the Wuyang on the side of low ground main, who is the closest to ultimate from all five players.
Yeah, that Tidal Blast already being online pretty much for both of these Wu Yangs, but there's gonna be no Ben no games. Literally, Ben, there's no game to be seen, unfortunately, being called out one by one by one. The Fallen start falling, but not before we see, well, not before we see a little bit of a stagger, a little bit of a contest, 54% on the board, and now Lograme now pushing up to make up for lost time.
Yep, living up to their name, back to the spawn room is the Fallen, but not without a couple of ultimates to work with. Already having that Kiriko Rush and that Tidal Blast for Wander means they could re-engage with one of those ultimates, maybe the Rush.
Ooh, no, I'm looking at a Tidal Blast onto Fred. Spidey does get completely called out by Perf, but Saucer comes in the elimination onto the Winston. However, we are seeing a little bit of a retreat here for Lograme, and they will have to work without pretty much the rest of their team. It's just Fred trying to stall, now has to back up immediately, and it's a very quick flip here for the Fallen, only really expending the Kitsune Rush.
Yep, so you're at least going to have maybe two ultimates in this next around two ultimates from each side in this next engagement that will likely to be used. Low ground main with 4 means they could open up with this Kiriko Rush. And in the midpoint, probably also drop this downpour that high quality has. And they're all opting for this Rush first.
The Rush against both of the Blades, but one has the Tidal Blast, the other does not. And it's gonna be kind of finding the one up. However, the Primal gets stopped by that aforementioned downpour. It doesn't really stop Perf all that much, but it does stop the Perfs of just the backline. There goes Mudkip. One looking a little bit worse for wear. Perf not, well, at least able to find Kind in the fray. And you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, what I would say, without Wander going down for the count. But thankfully, of course, we're gonna be seeing the rest of the backline and high quality come back to save the day. But Benno Games does get two of the both of the backliners under their belt, under his belt. Now has to really kind of fight off against high quality, as we do see Mudkip come back to help assist their Genji. But everyone else is here, but not high quality. It's still a very much a fight to be had. There goes Pred. What a cleanup from the Fallen.
Yep, easy turnover with just high quality left on the board. Everyone else who died pretty early from the Fallen, just clean up L1 along with these coconuts that just fall into place. Yep, the Fallen have a solid idea on how they want to play this composition along with the Winston, and I think a lot of it just has to be, in one way or another, the dive coordination and who they are on. Because I think in some of those fights, it felt like players of low ground main were a bit split from, you know, maybe the dive, especially Kind and Pred. So I think that's something they may need to work on, or maybe change how they want to run their composition. Already we're seeing they're opting for this Brig on us, so they're looking for a more stagnant backline that could sustain through, you know, an oppressive dive that Perf and Battle Games and Dex are just amazingly doing for the Fallen.
Absolutely, and I do like the Diva here. It will put a lot more pressure onto Perf than was kind of already there. Kind was hovering over Reaper, who, mind you, is very much back. You know, we've been seeing a lot of Reaper, especially being played as of late, but Kind instead 6 to the Tracer. But this is the pressure I was talking about. We lose Kind, but there's a big anti-nade coming in from Swag Daddy, forcing the deflect coming in from the side of Benno Games. However, we are still seeing a little bit of a redirect from low ground main, as we are seeing the dive still continue in the favor of the Fallen. You saw high quality going for the peel and kind of left the rest of the team a little bit naked to the dive from the Fallen. So with that being said, 10% already given to the side of the red team here.
Yep, I think what needs to be done here is kind of Dex need to be marking each other rather than just really high quality trying to mark Dex on the other side. Because I think that lessens the amount of DM high quality has to use to not just heal but also to get things turned around.
Ooh, forced to deflect very early on. Big Suzu as well, using it so early. What a sleep onto Perf, forcing the Winston to back up and get a lot of care. But unfortunately, we're going to get a very quick D-Mech here against high quality. So pretty much no tank, I would say, on the field for low ground. They have to retreat. And we know Perf is looking like sees the opportunity and completely runs rampant with it. Goes in for the dive onto the very, very expendable backline and arguably front line. And Dex finds the eliminations and finishes off the rest of that team fight easily, now hovering over that 50% marker.
So If I am low ground main, you are probably going to have to use that nano, maybe not on your diva, but most likely to either keep your brig up or to enable Pred to do something with that nano because that's the only ultimate you have.
Ooh, Ben comes in with the blade instead, so that dragon blade, I'm sorry, that nano will not in fact come out for at all. The fight's extremely quick. Saucer does get the whip shot onto Ben No Games, forcing a retreat from the Fallen. There's a little bit of a flank, a good scout onto Kind, who is trying to be a little sneaky, does not work favorably.
Yep. Low ground main though, you have 4 ultimates to work with. You can open up with any of those. The Fallen had to use at least 2 of theirs in the previous fight, so you need to use at least 2 or 3 to turn things around.
What a stick onto the Sojourn, and then we also thankfully used the nano in time before Dex is just running rampant all over the front, the back line, everywhere. There is nowhere safe away from this Tracer, and we commit the primal for that last bit of stall, but as this overtime wick does tick down, there's gonna be absolutely zero touch from low ground main. The Fallen are your victors of Samoa, and with a point up in this first to 3, we're chilling so far.
Oh, we are indeed chilling. And if there's one thing the Fallen has shown is they can keep up with the 3rd place finishers from this Masters tier and are already just, well, putting it lightly, just like cleaning some messes up along the aisle. So for the Fallen, this is a great showing on week 2, but I think for low ground main, they're trying to figure out how to deal against this divier composition of a Kiri Wuyang, where the backline is a bit farther than, what a normal Kiri Lucio setup would be, which is a bit tighter knit, has some level of brawliness to it. Kiri Wuyang, not so much. So there's nothing really as easy to dive upon, and so you're either opting to trade backlines or at least have your DPS mark other DPS. I think I want to see more of a Tracer fight to actually happen so that Dex isn't just running over pretty much the backline and core of low ground main.
I had to agree with you. Yeah, I really did feel like Dex was not being looked at as hard or marked or scouted out as consistently as the rest of the team of low ground main were. And every single time they tried doing anything, they were completely outpaced and called out on it immediately, arguably by the side of Dex, who was just doing Tracer things, and without Tracer being marked, without Tracer being looked at by another Tracer or the Genji or whomever is that mirror match, you can just do whatever you want on Tracer. You can look at the backline of this Ana Brigida. You can look at this Ana more often than not. You can stick a pulse onto Brig and she can't really do anything about it. You can go toe-to-toe against Genji. You can kind of leave the Tracer for last because that Tracer's probably all in the backline. Not doing much because I'm playing Wuyang Kiriko. They're extremely self-sufficient, very much we can battle it out or we can get out very quickly type of backline. So with that being said, as we allow low ground main to pick from any map and any mode, you want to think, do you want to continue this momentum onto a flashpoint or onto a push, or do you want to take it a little bit slower and go to a hybrid or escort map? The floor really is theirs.
Definitely. And I think what we at least have an idea of is that Lucio is back in play, so you're at least going to have some level of an even footing in the more brawlier maps like Flashpoint or Push, right? So that option is back on the board, and you don't have to worry about speed being tossed out of the game. So you could actually change the tempo and chase after this Wuyang, who the moment you actually close distance on this character is very squishy, right? Wuyang really survives on being able to deter a team from closing in and then being able to escape out. But his ability to escape solo only lasts for so long compared to a Lucio speed that could just be perma on.
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned that Lucio is back here, but then that kind of leaves things open to new bans that can kind of inhibit Lucio a little bit. So we're going to go over to Saravasa, where Lucio very much is a favorite here. But it's not map 3 yet, so I can't say it. I can't say the thing. But if it happens, you know what I'm talking about. Instead, low ground main will have the first. Oh no, I think the Fallen are actually gonna have the first ban here. You do have the option as the loser to give your first ban away, if you don't want to take the first ban. But That being said, I think they're gonna. I would take it personally. Take that first ban. I need
I
that.
I think the first ban is there's both pros and cons to it, right? The biggest positive to being able to ban first really is you could set which role you want to protect, right? Or you could set the
Mm-hmm.
tone for what type of composition you want the enemy team to play, what you as in this matchup want to play. But I think what comes with being able to pick first is you have to make sure you have backup plans right away when the other side decides to throw a wrench in all those plans. And low ground main are opting to ban the Junker Queen, which honestly not a bad pick for Suravasa. We've seen a lot of people who play Junker Queen on Suravasa, but it's also a map that just inherently enables a lot of brawlier characters. So there is always a substitute to this Junker Queen, but definitely it ensures less survivability now that the shout is out of the play, especially in the scrappier fights.
Absolutely. And now that we're going over to the Fallen's pick here, once again, low ground main would be banning that Junker Queen. They have, low ground main. I'm not low ground main, excuse me. The Fallen have the option of a DPS or a support ban. Of course, we already banned Lucio out. We could continue that trend, ban out a Kiriko, ban out a Juno, backlines that could work even without the Junker Queen. However, you can also look for where they may be playing a little bit as a crutch. Maybe you want them to ban the Cassie, you want to ban the Tracer, you want to ban something like that. Even Genji might be big options here. But as the timer does tick down, we will get our ban locked and loaded very, very soon here. I'm thinking it might be a support ban.
Kiri, because it's a
Surely.
flashpoint?
Yes, it's Cassidy. Yes.
No.
Yes.
You're cheering that it's a Cassidy, not knowing that hey, we still have a map 3 mod.
No, because it has to happen at some point. Like, it always happens on my broadcast, so it doesn't matter if it's CGL or not. It's Kiriko on map 3. There's a Cassidy and Queen ban. I actually like that I called the Cassidy. I'm not gonna lie. That's kind of funny.
I like the Cassidy. The Cassidy ban is pretty good if you're trying to ensure that you don't want the tempo to slow down, because the one thing the Cassidy's toolkit at least provides is the ability to slow things down in terms of an engagement, because you can't just int your brains in as a Redditing Lucio if you opt to do the Reddit Lucio type of setup, because that's just going to be a flash, headshot here, you're gone. Or even just flash, hit a right click, tilt people from being a right click Cassidy player, unless you pick the new major perk.
Yo, that perk is crazy. I'm sorry, go ahead. I felt something in my soul.
No, but I agree with you. That perk is crazy, right? You forgo the right click, but the piercing shot actually is pretty massive, right? Like, if you're able to really quick scope in, it is crazy. It will do so much damage. It will have tick damage so that even when this character turns the corner, you still have a shot at them dying and getting the kill credit. So, do I think it's as broken as, a flash right click? I still think flash right click's more annoying. Like flash regular, like multiple bullets right click.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think that perk. What were they cooking? It's burnt. Like, we get out of the kitchen, because that perk is not okay. But we're talking about a character who's not even gonna be in the game, so it's not the end of the world. I think we're actually, with this head-to-head, showing us a little bit of a sneak peek of some of the favorite heroes to play for these teams. I do think we might see Ben come on this, go on this venture here, and I think venture is, I think it's more worth to have a venture ban on a flashpoint like Servasa, like New Junk City, Atlas if it's ever in the map pool, a little bit newer, but it still works for them. I think reserving a ban for venture is not only more popular, but also kind of makes a little bit more sense in control. But that's just my 2 cents. If you care, of course, if you care. But with Lucio being unbanned. I'm excited to see exactly, you know, your analogy about the Reddit Lucios. What did Frogger do to you? It's okay to say. Just you can say his name. It's not. He's not Beetlejuice. He's not Beetlejuice.
I don't think it's Frogger per se, but the influence Frogger has created to some players where you're just, I respect the attempt. Well, I also need you back here. It's one of those things where you wish you could have a. It's one of those things where you wish you had a leash on your Lucio as like the flex support, and be like, no,
oh my god, yes. Oh my god, yes. I'd be like, where is my Chungus Lucio going? Where are you going? You're off the map. We are unguarded.
I think I'm sorry. I think there should be a support hero next time that allows you to pull back your fellow support. Just saying. That isn't Lifeweaver that needs elements.
No, I'm about to say, now what's wrong with Lifeweaver? Chill, that's my man. I can't. We have a very, very interesting tank line here from the Fallen. We have the Zarya and Reaper, very classic. You go in, I bubble you, give me charge. You get out, I bubble you, I get charge. Type of composition here. Dex will be called out very early, however, from high quality. Array being forced to use those blinks, forced to use the recall, and a high quality find or end pred by default finds perf. We lose swag and we lose kind, however, from the side of low ground main. We're still kind of duking it out against this Reaper, who is still being carried by this back line, and actually so much so that we actually get the damage output high enough to get rid of high quality. The fight's still ongoing, but it's so messy.
Yep, I think just the fact that I think it's Wander and Yan Mudkip who were still alive and didn't die pretty early just allowed for Beno Games to just become that tank when Perf was back in the spawn room, right? The big difference here is just really the damage and just surviving through it, but Kind already taking out Beno Games means that there's going to be a hell more damage on Perf, and Perf has to watch those bubbles.
Ooh, what a headshot from Mudkip, though, onto Pred. Even trade eye for an eye, but Kind on the Sojourn must not be underestimated. A rail shot from a very long range does take down Mudkip very early on. However, Sunbear does come in and get committed here from low ground main, allowing a very over-aggressive charge onto Perf, onto Beno Games. It's a very quick flip for flashpoint purposes, and we have a bunch of things on lined up here for both teams.
Both characters have Rush online, so this is going to be a Rush v Rush scenario, at least for this next engagement, should Swag Daddy manage to build towards that ultimate. But I wouldn't be surprised if there is going to be a Tidal Blast put onto Beno Games, because Beno Games is going to have this Reaper Blossom, and that's one way you could attack this point.
Ooh, we're gonna see the defensive and the offensive, Casino Rush coming in from Mudkip does help find Kind and Swag Daddy first and foremost. No need for the Blossom here, Thor. Just straight up headshot after headshot after headshot. Pred is none the wiser, falling right into the beautiful shotguns of Beno Games.
I think we're seeing in this setup that low ground main seems to be on the back foot most of the time in some of these fights when they turn over. I need to see some level of aggression when they're on the defense. Not when they're on the attack, but on the defense, because that's the only way you could keep this point of Surabasa, the point of Surabasa, alive.
Okay, here comes the Kitchen Rush from Swag Daddy. We do find Dex early on from Saucer, but here comes the Death Blossom and the Tidal Wave. But you can the Tidal Blast, but you can always rail shot right through it, and that's exactly what happened to Beno Games' head. Terror Surge you saw was procced on the very edge of the objective, pulling in that Reaper. We couldn't quite get the kill into Wander before losing high quality, but we're gonna get that 99 to 100% in the favor of low ground main. Finally, finding something that works into the Fallen.
Yep, low ground main, take that first sub-point of Surabasa and walking into that next with 2 ultimates in the bank. The Fallen, though, you will have that Graviton Surge pretty soon, and that's the only thing in their bank. So if you're Saucer, you're trying to build towards a Lucio beat in order to keep yourselves alive in what might be a Graviton Surge opening, or at least sustain on the point.
Cooldown's Array kind of going down for high quality, using the spin, using the gold already here. But here comes the back line, and immediately that Shadow Step will be called out early on by Swag Daddy. Here comes a stick from Pred onto Dex, and just like that is a much cleaner looking team here than we had previously seen on that first round. What a beautiful opener here for Temple.
Yep, and Saucer still has this Lucio beat online, so that's ready and waiting for the Graviton Surge of Perf. So for the Fallen, you're trying to find these players of low ground main and get this Graviton Surge in. Maybe force out the spin of the Orisa first before it happens. But they're just ripping it.
Oh, we're gonna use this grab here, and the sound barrier does get committed from Saucer. Great response. And thankfully, there's no blade online either, so it's not like you did a whole waste with the sound barrier. But there's a 55% charge of Zarya. The deflect kill actually finds Swag Daddy. I mean, you're running it down on the Zarya. Getting beautiful pressure onto his backline. More thinking the backline, Benno Games has been kind of running rampant, almost uncontested, while Perf is in the front line, making sure to negate high quality's pressure and presence on tempo, flipping it easily for the Fallen.
Yep, low ground main though will have that Terra Surge in their next engagement, but they'll have to contend with the Tidal Blast of Wander, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's one of their ways to counter it, layered with a Kiriko Rush. It's that, or you're going to use that Tidal Blast onto Dex, who has already built into this overclock.
I'm waiting for the continuing rush here. What a spear, though. What? The Suzu also gets forced out early on. Both the Tidal Blast and the continuing rush will be committed, and the response will be the Terror Surge, but the bubble comes in clutch for Perf, keeping them alive. Not only that, but also getting that extreme amount of high energy in order to shut down high quality right before being put down themselves. 81% already given to the Fallen. Is looking a little bit worse for wear here for low ground main on Temple.
I mean, 3 players have fallen from low ground main. I think if you are them, you are probably not going to be recontesting this point, going to fight another day at a different point that might be at your advantage. But no, as I say that, the point is, I think it looks like it is the Fallen favored at the side of the map-wise.
Okay, looks like we are going over to Gardens. Yeah, I forgot they made the change where now it's adjacent points and not just like randomized, which is so much better. A great change, I must say. So with that being said, a little more easily predictable to figure out where to position next. You can see that the Fallen are coming in from this staircase down towards the opposition who's already set up. The overclock does get committed here. The pulse goes wide on the left side, and High Quality is walking in and just shutting that down immediately. Kind, by the way, mind you, has his own overclock ready at the same exact time. The blade is gonna be used alongside the grab and takes care of Swag Daddy immediately. But that might be the only victim of the Dragon Blade, as we do see the reversal of the overclock get used and the sound barrier to help facilitate this W here for low ground main.
And that's cleaned up for everyone else on low ground main. But what a fight between these two teams. Just as I said, low ground main, they took that point first, really being the more aggressive team, opening up with an ult, so the point turns in their favor. And you see the Fallen trying to respond in kind because they really didn't lose any players, maybe just one. But they had ultimates for low ground main just to respond to that. And they're going to have a Terra Surge into what might be double ultimates, support ultimates from the Fallen, who are going to use that Kiriko Rush to at least open things up for them.
Well, they're going to use at least one of them. I mean, Mudkip's continuing rush comes in. The Terror Surge does get committed as well. Suzu helps everyone get out of jail for free. Spear whips just slightly on Dex and onto Perf, and just like that, High Quality will be shut down by Neon Mudkip, and everyone else should kind of be cleaned up accordingly. Poson goes wide on the side of Perf, finds nothing. And there we go. Just I had kind of a thought that looked better for low ground main. They falter to the Tidal Blast committed by Wander 2 just to win the fight.
Yep. And here's the thing for the next fight is you are going to have that overclock if you are low ground main. So you can open that, hard enable that, make sure that kind is given the space needed to play and get value with it, because the Fallen has no other ultimates just yet. They still have to build towards both DPS ultimates. So capitalize on what you have.
We're having on this overclock first and foremost. Actually, a big wraparound coming in against the Fallen, kind of catching Perf a little bit lacking here. And now without that Orisa in, I mean, we've seen these kind of go away even without a tank, but Dex gets a row shot onto Pred, and I mean, if you're the side of the Fallen, knowing you only have 2 people left and 3 people left, the Dragon Blade does get committed here, and I mean, at this point, it's just this Lucius, just this Orisa trying to stay alive, and Benno Games must be studied. Because what do you mean you just got, like, hello?
Your Orisa's down, you still commit with Blade, you get value. Everyone on the Fallen just knows to hard enable the DPS that's going in with an ultimate. But what you're running into this, they're going to have an overclock if you're the Fallen. You open up with this, and ideally continue if you for low ground main with maybe the double support ultimates to take the point back, assuming you're able to touch.
I mean, Kind tries to, but I think we're kind of by himself here. We do see the Continued Rush and the Sound Barrier get used from Saucer and Swag Daddy. This should be really good for low ground main to kind of supplement the lack of Kind there. Terrorsaur does get used, and Fred finds the elimination anyway. And I think at this point, just clean up Ben, clean up the back line, and that's Fred's job exactly to the T. But no perf to be seen. Who else is going to go down? We see the Tidal Blast get committed by Wander, selfishly onto himself. Who's going to be going down? Not quite yet. Still stalling for a long time. 99% on both sides here in favor of the Fallen for now. We might get a quick flip here. Just one last little tick, and that's it. High quality going down means there's going to be absolutely zero flip here for low ground main, giving the point to the Fallen.
Dude, that's a great play from the Fallen, right? You put that Tidal Blast onto Benno Games and manage to turn things over, right? You don't have your tank, and Dex is just coming back from the spawn room. So you're trying to keep things alive with an ultimate, and that's a great way to use a Tidal Blast, right? You have a Genji who is able to dive in, get some damage in, and ensures that the value of a Genji is higher. Now you have this Kiriko Rush, you're probably going to open it up with this and to keep the point alive in your favor with a Kiriko Rush. So if you're low ground main, you're going to try to fight for this high ground.
Oh, and they're going to fight. They're going to push them all the way back off the high ground into that main area, the main way of Palace. This is do or die for low ground main, as they are the ones behind in the point system. The Fallen finds 2 eliminations for the price of Ben going down. And just like that, they're going to start things off with a great flip here onto Palace.
I think what's working for the Fallen this time around also is that compositional swap. We saw them initially roll out with the Zarya Reaper, and as much as that provides high volume damage, the sustain of you as a Zarya on tank is not that great against that Orisa, especially if you can't get the kills right away, which has been a bit of a difficulty when you're running a speedy kind of comp that low ground main is. But both sides now with a Wuyang means they're opening and fighting on high.
We're finding out how the Terror Surge into the face of Overclock. There's a lot of trade-offs back and forth. Dragon Blade was also committed from Benno Games, but usually the swords against the knife. It's going to be Pred finding the one up with the shotguns here on the Reaper, finding a new home off the Tracer. And what a turnaround. But I mean, if you're Reaper into an Orisa, I'm not taking that trade-off either.
I mean, also, would you really want to do that fight when you are also a barely HP left Reaper? So that was a good call for Pred, just to wait for everyone else to regroup and fight another day, because you're going to at least build towards both support ultimates mid-fight.
Getting a little worried here. You can see Pred going really down, forcing the Suzu really early on. Tidal Blast does get committed here onto the Terror Surge. A classic combo here for the Wu Yang and Orisa composition. Pred comes in with an aggressive one, knowing we had the Tidal Blast, shutting down and stunning the opposition, but not for very long. Pred finds the elimination onto Pred very early, and now we are in a 5v4. We're building up to this to this overclock from Dex. We're down on Benno Games. Dex rips open the overclock, rips that band-aid, starts really putting in the hurt onto not just high quality, but also Swag Daddy. Both of them going down for the count, and it's a 3-1 here for the Fallen. My team did not touch, unfortunately.
I think there was a touch. I think it was more of people just died when they touched, which is how the game works. Somehow. This is not a C9, because
no, absolutely not. Yeah,
absolutely
they
not.
Didn't. Yeah, absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
They just couldn't.
It was a really good play from the Fallen, and also the swaps to deal with the composition that low ground main were running, and it even forced low ground main out of what they wanted to run, right? Initially running that Kiri Lucio, but what ends up happening is the Lucio just ends up being focused out so hard by either the Genji or even the Wuyang that you saw time and time again that when the Wuyang of the Fallen had ult, would just put it on the Genji, and then Benno Games just cleans things up, looking for that Lucio right away and ignoring everything else, because the one moment the Lucio's gone, there's nothing to speed out this team. There's nothing else to sustain them, especially if, you know, your only sole character for support left is your Kiri, and with everything else poking left, right, and center, your Orisa and Kiri are definitely going to have a harder time.
Absolutely. And with that being said, we're going to let our teams pick their next map and ban, and we're going to go to a very quick 5-minute break here just to get everything started for you guys for what could be the last and final map. I mean, Logrami needs to get a reverse sweep to even have a chance of cleaning and turning this around, but otherwise, we'll be back after this very short break. And we're back. It has been a very fantastic 2-0 series so far for the Fallen. Logrami, they are definitely not out for the count quite yet. These guys made it to playoffs. These guys were your third placers for last season of CGL, and they have something to prove here for sure. It's the early part of the season, but still, you want to get that in there, get those standings right, and situate it for yourself. I'm still here with Thor, and I'm glad to say we're going over to map number 3, Runasapi.
Yep, and if there's one thing we know about Runasapi, it is still one of the maps where Brawl is king one way or another, or in some cases, maybe some level of dive Brawl setup, but nothing really hard not really a hard dive or poke kind of setup. Really something that allows for some contesting to happen on the card. Now, we have a couple of ideas on what might be the bans for this map 3. One of which is a Motineva style branding. Yes, we will not be surprised if there's a Kiriko ban on map 3.
This Kiriko map, bro, like, this is such a Kiriko map. I'm looking for it. I'm looking for the Kiriko ban on map 3. But in all seriousness, I love that you mentioned that you could play like a more different style of dive. I think Hazard fits really well into that definition. To an extent, I would also say like Ball can also fit very well into that kind of hash mash kind of dive. Not quite the same level of, setting up and cohesion as like an Ana, Brig, and Winston you would see on like Gibraltar, for example, but more just kind of haphazard, and literally haphazard, haha. So with low ground main having that first ban, once again, definitely not taking any chances here. I feel like the bans are kind of open. A lot of the Fallen have really good character pools, and I feel like if you ban like Genji or whatever, it's not the end of the world. But we're gonna be seeing the Winston ban, kind of a remembrance of what happened on that first map.
I think a Winston ban is pretty solid if you're trying to deny the power of a Winston bubble, for example, whether that's cutting off the LOS of heals or even just the impact of a tidal wave from Wuyang, which really deters, certain pushes and even allows that escape card one way or another. So if you are low ground main, you're trying to deny a character that's enables that. So I think in a way they also still want to play this Lucio. So we're in for a match mod where no Kiri ban means Kiri's gonna be in play. And I think it's solely because from how this weird meta is shaping up, it's either Kiri Lucio or Kiri Wuyang. So I feel like the moment you ban Kiri in this current state of the game in a control brawly type of map like Push, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot.
I was gonna say Kiri look a little different. I was giggling to myself for that one. I'm not gonna lie, but we do see the Sojourner ban, which I think is actually pretty perfect.
It's a beautiful ban.
Khan, you're doing a little too much, I fear. A little too much on the Soj here. So, with that being said, with the Fallen at a 2-0 lead, they are on match point. The next 10 minutes can either mean we're going to get an interview in 10 minutes or we're going to get another map in 10 minutes. That's the kind of stakes we're working with. Just 10 minutes for this to go either way, So, with the head-to-heads now coming back, they're going to be, looks like we're not going to be seeing any swaps from either of our teams here. Everyone's staying in here, chilling. They are good to go. I'm sure we're going to see Wuyang still get committed here, even the Wuyang Kiriko from at least the Fallen, as it has been extremely proficient as of late. And the other side, I think it's low ground main. They've been kind of working with a bunch of different compositions here. I do want to see what they commit to as we now load into Runasapi.
I agree that we're definitely going to see the Fallen most likely stick to this Kiri Wuyang because they have been looking great at it. They understand how they want to play that composition, especially with the Genji, such that even when your tank is down, your Genji is pretty much a tank on its own, soaking up some damage and being able to back off. But that's an interesting Wuyang we got there from the Fallen.
Yo, wonder who's
Who that, buddy? Who that?
Who is that? That's the opposite. That's the firebender.
That's the fire. No way.
Yo, where's Katara? But like fire version. That's like season 4 Katara. All right, they're running out on Orisa and Diva here. We got Pred back on Cassidy. Pred, you're a victim. Please blink twice if you need help.
I think the Pred we got here is that Pred is going to be target number 1 of this Dive Year the Fallen composition, and Kind has to figure out an opening of sorts to maybe get into this backline. Never mind! The Pred was wrong.
Yo,
Pred said otherwise.
Yo, Pred said, I'm not a victim today. I'm the perpetrator. Getting rid of Dex, helping out with these onset Bendo games as well. What a great start here for low ground main. But I always say this, Thor. The D-Makers there, great. A little bit of a stagger, not too shabby. I always say this. The first couple minutes of Runasapi aren't the ones that matter. It's low-key the last 3 minutes.
Oh, I 100% agree. I have played a match where my team was down, my enemy team almost full capped it, and we somehow turned it around and won the map. I don't know how, but it was in the last 4 minutes of this map. So everything right now is fluff, including this flank from Dex trying to pincer from the back, and that's exactly why you need a Cassidy there.
Yeah, I love this. Oh, Dex, absolutely not. Nope.
Ew!
It's just gross. It was a great headshot, really good prediction on where Dex was going to go with the next blink, and then you kind of like leave Beno Games a little by themselves. Really, he couldn't get back to the team effectively enough. So Dex realizing, okay, I'm getting 2 shot by this Cassidy. I'm gonna swap. It's gonna be the Freya making the first appearance here of today.
Yep, but first appearance also is high quality, dropping very low, forcing this low ground main to slowly back off just a bit, especially with their Wuyang very low.
Spy Daddy, okay, I love the taxi here. It's definitely doing the work. A little bit of a cover, and here comes a continued rush from both of these teams. One perpendicular to one another. The spear comes in right in the nick of time, but Ben does get called out by Kind on that posting high ground around the coastline. 4v5 here. No spear, no spin either to be seen. 89% to our own Dragon Blade for low ground main. We will be committing the Tidal Blade, the Tidal Blast onto Pred and the Terra Surge. So Pred is just a victim of the circumstances, but the Dragon Blade does find the backline, looking up in the air towards his Bola shot that is being committed from Dax, and he doesn't really find too much, but Per finds a kill onto Swag Daddy. It's a messy fight here, Thor, and looks like the Fallen have finally gotten the bot back under their belt.
Well, if there's one thing in the favor of low ground main right now, is that they at least have a Kiriko to keep everyone else back topped up and healthy, especially Kind, who went in with that Tidal Blast. So Saucer is going to be just immensely close to a Kiriko rush. Hopefully does not die in the process because they dropped barely to might be just sub 20 HP, allowing the Fallen to just regroup. Kinda.
Ooh, speaking of people going down first, it's gonna be Wander, it's gonna be Beno Games also being completely shut down by the hinder of Pred. Perf getting that deflect kill back onto himself, and just like that, it's a complete flip here for low ground main. We have ultimates, we have momentum, we have things really working for these guys.
And already, you've seen the Fallen switch out of what is their comfort composition into a bad blue show, something we haven't seen in such a long while in this state of Overwatch.
Blade does get committed here, but no dice. Beno Games called out completely by not just high quality, but everybody on the team here. The Lamp is a victim of the Terror Surge. We see the High Note get committed as well. No, unfortunately, no skulls to be tapped on, but we do have the continued rush down this nice long way, and I wouldn't be surprised with the going down of Perf if we just kind of rip it open right here, right now. Instead, we're going to be keeping it a little bit in the back pocket. Ben going over to Echo in this spawn room, but they're being super pushed up.
Yep, and with only a boulder shot left for the fall, and you have to open up with that.
You see, ooh, the Tidal Blast onto Pred, onto Swag Daddy, who was focused on with the Bola shot. Look at this, we lose Pred, whatever. We have this Echo who's so low. We gotta take care of this Kiriko of this Wuyang at the exact same time. It's just high quality, it's just Kind. Only 87% to the blade, so there's gonna be absolutely zero hero plays to be made here. But literally just shy of what? 3-4 meters from completion? Are you kidding me?
This is also the current state of Runasapi, where we still have 5 minutes and 20 seconds on the time bank, and means anything goes, and the Fallen have that much opportunities to turn things around and fully cap Runasapi, because at this point, that's pretty much the win condition for both of these teams, just capping Runasapi. And for the Fallen, you have 2 ultimates to work with, you have that Terror Surge, open it up with that, and a window, and bada bing bada boom, you might get something.
I mean, can you see the aggression coming in from Perf to go in with the Terror Surge, but in the back, uncontested, unscouted, unseen, is Kind with the Dragon Blade, ripping it open, finding 4 eliminations to the measly nothing from Perf's Terror Surge. We easily get the bot back, we easily get forward spawns again.
Yep, we need a rebranding to Unkind for this Genji player. And hopefully this time, Pred maybe gets this High Noon off, but a window's gonna contend to stop that first.
It's a great space-making window as well. I mean, you can see how quickly everyone's left. We're gone. We are not playing on that window. Sightline, we're going to be playing this initial corner where we've been winning more often than not. We have the duplicate ready for Beno Games, looking for the perfect target, ideally onto high quality, maybe even Kind, as Kind will be taking Ashley out of the fight. So, with that being said, Pred might have to pick up the pace a little bit here, maybe with a Deadeye. Ooh, the Pierce saying don't do it, because that's a really nasty perk. High quality goes down. Everyone is now slowly faltering, and the Fallen have once again gotten a little bit of a break and still hold on to this upcoming Deadeye and the duplicate.
And that was such a cost-effective fight for the Fallen, only using the window and already halfway to that ultimate is Wander. So you're going into this with a beat, and that should be enough to at least keep you up with this Terra Surge and maybe the Tidal Blast from Swag Daddy. So if I am low ground main, I think I open up with maybe putting it on your Genji.
Ooh, Tidal Blast is actually committed onto Kain, who is looking over at this Lucio, finds the stun for a bit, but of course Mudkip has that boop to get that Lucio away from him. Prairie comes in with the Deadeye. The Sun Bear does not come in time to help Bendo Games be a victim of these Deadeye as well. Terror Charge does get used coming in from high quality. Perf only 2% away to his very own, and the Continuing Rush will be used, but a pause screen is gonna stop the momentum of the entire game. The flow has been disrupted. We're gonna come right back to us, and we're gonna figure out what's going on with my teams.
From at least the little bits of info of what us casters can see, Kind was a bit too unkind and so had to be booted from the server due to not following their own name branding is what it seems. But hey, it's being unkind to the enemy team but kind to your team because they're doing a spectacular job this time for low ground main. All the pieces seem to be working together this time around for them. So if I'm the Fallen, I'm kind of quaking in my seats right now, trying to figure out how to deal with this dive Genji Wuyang combo that low ground main has somehow kind of figured out how they want to play with.
Absolutely. I really do feel like, you know what, we know what sucks. I want to talk about this really quickly. The mental of being in these really intensive fights. You just use a bunch of ultimates on both sides. So you know the dupe was just used. You know Sandberry was just used. You know Continuing Rush is on the field right now. I don't remember exactly what percentage percentage Kind was at for ult charge. I don't think it was much because we did just use Dragon Blade, to be fair. So at least that's not a big loss. But you're going into this game, the momentum has just completely shifted. The territories will be used by Perf, who does, you know, go down in the face of adversity. Will be low ground main, losing out on Kind, not by elimination, but by complete. It was Aaron Keller targeting my Genji, and it happens, but they bring it back, thankfully.
Yes. Now, if I am the Fallen, I at least have this high noon. I'm going to have window again, and that window is definitely going to be that space saver because if low ground main is playing smart, they're just going to kite back out of that window because there's no point trying to fight through it.
Wait, sneaky window coming through. I like it. It's a little bit small, smaller than I would like. But we're gonna see the window. We're also gonna be seeing the Deadeye. Kind gets called out, not able to hide behind the taxi quite yet. The piercing does whiff a tiny bit, but I mean the extra damage output onto high quality is very much there. It forces Susie from Saucer to try to keep everyone alive. Kind goes on, Pred goes on a little bit of a flank, gets caught out by Wander of all people, and Saucer and Pred both get their ones before inevitably going down.
Yep, and if I am at least the Fallen, I will take those respective trades. We are at least going to be in this last 2-minute mark. There's a lot of distance that the Fallen has to go through. They really need to win these next set of fights or at least capitalize on mistakes.
Oh!
But that's a big mistake already.
Oh, the flanking Cassidy just to get Dex out of the fight, goes for the Deadeye, gets a little bit of that damage output onto Lucio. Mudkip gets out of there, perfect by themselves. Oh, what a response from low ground main.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate because as much as you want to gain a bit more distance if you are the Fallen, you aren't able to at least sustain through it, especially when low ground main come as a 5, but now they're walking into this as a 4.
This is the corner that of dreams and the corner that can shatter dreams or make dreams is what I'm trying to say here. Dex finds Kind. The dream is starting to shatter a little bit here for low ground main. Then there goes high quality. Then the rest of the team is going to start trickling away from the Fallen. And with only a minute left here, we're definitely doing a good job from the Fallen of holding on to this insane ult bank.
Insane ult bank, but a minute left on the clock and pretty much the whole other half of Runasapi to go. So this has to be fight win after fight win and maybe touching the bot. Thank you. And maybe touching the bot. So ult rotations are very important for the Fallen and at least having a game plan if low ground main's style of fighting is going to be let's build all 5 ults and dump them.
I mean, we're building and use the Terror Surge first from Perf, who didn't really find much in that small enclosed room. Then we're going to use Wander's window. Mind you, we only have now accumulated 10 meters for the Fallen. They had to get 130 more. Mind you, just complete the map. screw the meters. Complete the map here. Bullet Shot and Deadeye and Sunbather are your only ways of victory here. Bullet Shot goes wide onto the archway, onto the entryway. Here comes the Terror Surge, and also in line, but there goes Naya Munkip, who is not going to be able to really find too much value with the Sunbather that was in fact committed, and no one else can touch. So it's going to be a real series here, and not quite the 3-0 we're looking for. We're going over to a committed map number 4.
It looks like this low ground main team is starting to warm up and turn things around. I think they needed some form of footing to understand how the Fallen want to play, and have now capitalized it on just a bit. They're starting to throw the composition that the Fallen was playing against them, and capitalizing and doing maybe just slightly better than them now. So you could see the progression of this low ground main team from, being in that 0-2, but learning slowly from their mistakes. And already it's reaping the benefits.
Yeah, I think low ground main are really good at pushing some sort of objective, whether it's a bot. Now we have payload, both payload map modes available as the rest of the map pool available for map 4 and 5. So I think they do very well in those. We have to push this from point A to point B to point C to point D, and they don't have to be so stagnant on a control, a Servasa, which I think is really good for the Fallen. These kind of messier fights are really going by the wayside of the Fallen more often than not, but when low ground men are able to send a flanking Cassidy in, get a headshot, and shut down the Tracer, of which we mentioned, putting more threat pressure on this Tracer, forcing Dex off of the character, and then suddenly you see how much easier it is to not have to look behind you every 2 seconds at this Tracer who's on my back line. There's no Tracer anymore. It worked out so wonderfully for low ground main, and now that we have our map 4, or whatever they want to go for map 4, you got cart, you got payload duties, you got payload princesses, you got everything under the sun, we got hybrid, we got escort. What do we go to next?
Well, one way or another, these 2 map types are the same. The 2 map types we have left are pretty much the same, right? The only difference is hybrid has that semi-control-esque opening that you have to deal with. And even then, right, it's one location, and you're attacking. If you're an attacker, you're coming from one specific direction. It's not a map that's symmetrical one way or another. There's still some methodological way of attacking it, of defending it. And as you said, it seems that low ground main is very comfortable running maps that have a objective that it needs to push or it needs to move, because you already know where you want fights to happen, where are the safe areas to fight, which are the corners you want to protect and ensure you hold till like your dying breath. And one of those types of points that you want to hold corners until your dying breath is something like Circuit Royale.
Oh, Circuit Royale, we're going to see just the first part. Trust me on this. Circuit Royale is one of those maps I think is so interesting, especially if you can get the right bans out, right? A ban that I've been seeing a lot more of, by the way, in the tank side of things is either Orisa or Sigma. Banning Sigma on Circuit Royale is nefarious behavior, but I digress.
I love it.
Nefarious co-caster. What? The Fallen are coming with their first ban here, and you're thinking like, okay, what was our biggest problem, right? We already banned out Cassidy way earlier. Their last map ban was the Sojourn. So what works here? Mei works here very well. You can go for a target ban onto Kain, onto a Genji.
Ban Zen.
You can go for a Zenyatta or Baptiste. It's gonna be a target ban though. It's gonna be Genji.
I think both teams still have crazy Genji players. Right? Both teams have Genji players who popped off and got value. So I think this just puts everything on an even playing field. But what it does, though, is it forces the Genji player of low ground main to flex into a different hero altogether, which we really have not seen. So I think it's a way of putting the Genji player of low ground main into an uncomfortable position, having to play a character that might not be in their hero pool. But if I'm low ground main, I think nefarious pick, go Bandizen. That's less the Discord orbs on a target, the high damage of a Zen primary, crazy. Can go bonkers. Can fight against a Widow if they really wanted to. If they have the aim and eyes. You get the idea.
If you have the aim
But
and eye.
aim and eyes. I have neither.
I love
But
you.
no.
You're hilarious.
But
So cool.
no, we have gone the other nefarious route, which is banning the Sigma, which is. You called me out for it. I think it is a crazy ban. I think it makes everything in Circuit Royale a bit more interesting because we all know how a Sigma it reigns supreme in a map like Circuit Royale. So now that you remove it from play, you're forcing the enemy team to run a composition that may not be as optimal on Circuit Royale or something they might not have practiced as much. Whereas if you are low ground main, you probably have a strategy already in place if you're banning a Sigma.
Sigma ban. Shaking my head. Y'all can't see it, but I'm shaking my head. The Sigma purist in me, I love Sigma on Circuit Royale for good reason. As you mentioned, he is extremely strong. But this also gives way to a couple of more creative compositions to wrap around whatever tank you want to start off on with Circuit. We've seen Orisa. We've seen, well, Ram's dead. Sorry, Ram. We've seen Diva start to become a popular pick here in that regard. So anything can really go, especially as we are now loading into Circuit Royale. And just, yo, I'm so good at the Thor. We have the Orisa and we have the Diva. Ooh, what I say? What I say?
Well, the Fallen are going to have to get ready for this, but we're already, as expected, going to have this Widow 1v1, no matter what.
Yes.
Widow reigns supreme in these longer range sightline maps, and already you could see Ifara in the wings. And let's be clear, I will not be surprised if they're going to do haha funny shenanigans and take it from the top. Specifically for Benno games. Over that roof, make Kind feel very uncomfortable and disrupt everything else.
Oh, and you're absolutely right. Here's the aggression on the window, but Kind is right there to whip backwards. Make sure we shut down Ben, and everyone else will be going down after the fact. There you have the D-Mech already onto Perf, who, mind you, in baby form, does get the elimination onto Swag Daddy first. So, my bad. Did not know you were built like that, Baby Diva. We're already backing up points almost halfway through Circuit.
Yeah, Perf just saying that they're the one with the better swag and getting that kill. Now, they don't have a tank really to push this card, and you're going to have to push this card against a tanky Orisa, and that's a clean shot.
The grapple shot onto Dex on that little bridge high ground. Please, it's nasty, it's disgusting, and it's exactly what the Fallen need here to continue to push in. However, we lose Perf. Once again, there goes Kind finding Mudkip as well. Well, I switched it up. I'm sorry. Kind found Dex early on. And there's a very quick flip here. Again, good stall for low ground main. Now they can reset up really close up. And they have the sight advantage from Kind.
And I think the Fallen have made a correct swap. I think the Curie isn't really enough to sustain an Orisa in an Orisa 1v1, especially when high quality has a back tease. Sights available means that the Fallen have to care for their heads just a bit. Grapple shot attempt, trying to get this pesky little Dex who is playing with sights. You can see Kind really wants it. But what low ground main wants is to dwindle the downtime, and they're exactly doing that.
Kind needs it. Oh, but it's gonna be Dex finding that beautiful re-peek through onto Kind. And now we can start walking in with all this aggression. The storm arrows come in from Benno Games on this Hanzo. Now rips open the thread with this Dragon Strike. We do see, of course, the overclock get committed with the window here. And everyone and their mother is respecting it, except for Pred, who has forgotten, I'm Dex. I'm playing Widowmaker, and I have eyes on everybody.
Yeah, now Dex has eyes on everybody, and that was all with the help of the team just holding a really nice tight room, which I think, Pred really wanted to get a kill on the squishier targets and was just caught on sidelines. That's why you don't try to peek wide sometimes if you don't have a tank in front of you, but already it's just this Orisa trying to get a trade and manages to do so with the help of Pred.
Nice, and Kind finds the next elimination onto Dex as well, coming back from that spawn room. Mind you, we start off with 4 minutes, by the way, Thor. We only have 1 minute and 12 seconds left. That's how quick and kind of quick and slow, I would say Circle Royale is, but we do see the Captain Sun get expanded onto this high ground. 1 explosion, 2 explosions. Wander is all over the place, committing. Also, we're seeing the Terror Surge get committed onto high quality, and I mean, arguably, it is the help of that Captain Sun that really allowed the Fallen to not only cap here, but also regain an extra 2.5 minutes.
Wander just living their namesake and leaving Perf to just brawl it out with high quality on the point with those double spins at each other and turning things around, because those were 2 massive kills from the Captive Sun, and they have nothing really on their, ultimate bank right now to keep this alive. So they're trying to build towards ultimates, and they try to take as much space and hold it as much as they can before they slowly back off, because low ground main will be opening up with 3 possible ultimates, one of them being this Tidal Blast.
Oh, here comes the Tidal Blast. Dragon Strike also gets committed onto the right-hand side, kind of clipping into the doorway of the entryway of third objective, right? But we are going to be seeing Fallen. Kind finds one up onto Dex, who was on that opposing high ground as well. We kind of traded out for Pred here, but with Kind now set up nicely on this sight line onto the double supporters, trying to back out and regroup with their tank. I'm a little worried. Definitely a little worried here.
For who are you worried for? Because I think low ground main are in a perfect position right now to continue defending this.
Sorry, I'm waiting for the Fallen when they were trying to back up, and I saw Kind, and now Kind had sights online, and now, do you see this? I'm scared. You see how I'm scared? I'm scared of this. I don't want to be here against a Widowmaker. You see why? I don't want to be here against Kind's Widowmaker. Finds a head onto Ben. Who's next?
No one, because sides are down except for this grapple shot that might get something. Gets nothing, so that allows for Pred to just open up now with a follow-up. Overclock gets 1. Is my second? No second so far.
It's coming. Well, not
really?
quite, but we're still gonna get the elimination anyway. Really good cleanup here from low ground main. Oh, that's not good.
Maybe overextended just a tad bit. Just a tad.
As a treat.
As a treat, but hey, they're sitting comfortably, still having that high ground in their favor, and they forced out the Fallen back to that spawn room, but now they're going to have double support ultimates for the Fallen. Maybe no Widowmaker to build up towards that ultimate, but hey, you have Captain Sun online again, and Wander did so much work the last time.
Oh, 1000%. I love that you mentioned that, actually. Having the Captain Sun already locked and loaded for Wander, who's already going to be proccing it on, so I believe looks like aiming towards Kind. But there is, at the very least, or there was going to be a lamp there to help out Pred, to help out Saucer, but unfortunately, I think I broke him before the hand. So Wander once again finds a beautiful 2K and helps clear out the space once again, right at the tail end marker. Only 45 seconds left on the clock.
Also, Wander, great play with, Nyan Mudkip, because what I saw there at that one given moment was just that Illari goes in, ignores whoever's on point, goes for the squishier targets, and Nyan Mudkip just goes in with Wander.
Ooh, the Tidal Blast to help assist in the touch here for Pred. Unfortunately, with a little bit of that easy ability to walk in for touch, it did allow the Terror Surge to come through from Perf and from high quality. We lose out on 2 from low ground main, but the stalwart Orisa is still very much here to keep this point under the 10-second mark. Mudkip now goes over to Lucio to get there fast enough. Perf is going to go down, only a victim of just only having Iyari heal so far. Mudkip just now coming back, and now the rest of the team of low ground main. We see Kind hopping over to Tracer. High quality shuts down Mudkip. That's just trying to stay a little bit more, a hidden away, but Pred seeks them out immediately, and it's a 1v1 for ages, and Pred finds the elimination. And not only does Pred find the kill on the Dex, we also find the domination, the defense for the first round. Just a little bit shy of second point.
Just a little bit shy, bit maybe of a good play, I think. I think it was a spectacular play, honestly, from low ground main to put that a Tidal Blast onto a Pred as they slid onto the point, because that forced out key cooldowns from the Fallen, right? That forced out the Baptiste lamp. So that means there wasn't much sustain for the Orisa anymore, and that also just means high quality can come in with a Terra Surge, and that's how you lose your main source of healing as the Fallen. So it became a tougher situation for your Orisa to stay alive, especially when it's last fight and the other Orisa is just really healthy and tanky. So that was a great defense from low ground main. Almost had it for that first point if it wasn't for a few hero plays from a certain Illari character. But I think that's something we gotta watch out for from this Fallen team. The Ilaria of Wander is doing crazy things.
Oh, 1000%. Kind of a menace, I will say. Consistently really helping break open a lot of these really difficult defensive holds that low ground main was having. You kind of break it open with that Captive Sun onto Kind, onto Pred, onto Saucer, onto whomever, and they just they literally just explode. 1-2 little hits, boom, you're dead. We go for a little cheeky grapple shot here. Dex does get a little bit of that extra ultra. I think was kind of seeking it out and got a little bit of that elimination. But here comes another grapple coming in and no one to boot. High ground now taken over by the side of low ground main on this right side, now forcing the rest of really the Fallen to back up behind the bridge here. Big position check here, big position change, but big lack of a character. You're gonna have no Wu Yang here for the side of low ground main. We're gonna continue to at least stay on this stalwart corner.
Yep, but that's fine if you are low ground main. You still have your Baptiste up that allows for high quality, continue taking this high ground and forcing out a lamp, and putting this Baptiste of Mudka very low. So that's a huge opening for them right away to take this corner into their comfortable arms.
1000%. I always say the first part of this map is the meat and bones of Circuit Royale first point. If you can get through that corner and with a good amount of time, that being under 3 minutes, you're looking really good if you're low ground main. Now, no pylon here for the Fallen, no ultimates either, just straight neutral, straight mechanics will have to help low ground main cap the last about 5 meters to completion, if not 10. Kind and Saucer both, Kind and Dex both taking out the lamps on the other side, and Perf starts to chip away at this aggressive attack here by taking out Pred early on. Sights online as well as a backup here in the engagement. We're back up to the first corner, and we're 99% to a Terra Surge.
Yep. There's the Wander. Solar Blast manages to get one. To convert, and it exactly does. Getting high value all the time.
1000% swag that he really just could not do anything about it. I'm not sure, maybe we didn't have the surf. I'm not sure if maybe the lamp is going to go further enough to help out Swag Daddy, but thankfully with your Wu Yang, you know Wu Yang be back very, very quickly, very swiftly. We're walking in with the sights, with the Terror Surge, with this window. Starting things off with the Dragon Strike. Does kind of clip Kind a tiny bit here, but they're going to be called out by Perf almost immediately. Had nowhere else to really go. We're down our Orisa, of course, thanks to the window.
Yep. That wing, high quality to go in with this huge, massive Terror Surge. Gets three. I lied. Me when I lied, but hey, that clears off the point for low ground main. And you walk into this next point comfortably with 4 minutes in the time bank, something the Fallen didn't have the luxury with in the previous rounds. So if I am low ground main, I'm taking this space, helping my supports build up to their respective ultimates yet again, and you know, using maybe that Sights of Kind to really just keep things open and have an idea when the Fallen are coming back in, because they're only going to have that Terror Surge. So you're going to at least have tried to survive through that only ultimate that the Fallen has.
Well, you can definitely see the sights will be used by Kind for the next about 10 seconds here. Pred will be ideally using the overclock thereafter, and there it is, layered one after another. I'm looking extremely closely at Ben No Games. Excuse me, and there they go. You'll see here the Terror Surge get used by Perf, but both DPSs are down for the count for the Fallen. Just both supports trying from a very long range to keep their Orisa alive, to keep Perf up, and for to have a little bit of defense here on this last 2 minutes, but with only 2, 3, that's it. 3 centimeters, 2 centimeters, 1 centimeter, and that is the end of the attack phase. Low ground main have now brought it back to a game number 5. Pred, I agree with you. Those javelins have been hurting.
I agree. These javelins have been... Let's be clear. Those javelins have also stopped Pred so many times when Pred was on Cassidy. So it's not only just on the Sojourn where the head hurts, it's also on the Cassidy character. But that is completely fine because you've done your work as that DPS line for low ground main, and you've brought what was a 0-2 deficit to an even matchup of 2-2. We have a map 5 in our hands, and this is honestly super exciting, but there's more to see.
There is more to see. We have a lot. Well, we have one more map. Not too much. But it's going to be guaranteed an escort map or hybrid map.
Hybrid.
Excuse me. Hybrid
yes, we got
map.
it.
could be drawable, could go to the
Oh no.
unicorn levels of a map 6. I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there. We're going to take a very quick 5-minute break. We'll see you on the other side with hero bands, with map selection, and who will be the victor of this week's Masters match between Low Ground Main and the Fallen. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a very wonderful 4-map series. The Fallen, looking a little bit like their namesake, starting this series off very strong with a 2-0 lead on the cusp of winning the series 3-0. And then suddenly Low Ground Main rises and has brought us over to a clean Game 5. A 2-2 scoreboard is what you see. Your eyes are not deceiving you. It has been an absolute so far. And again, with this next map coming in, definitely being a hybrid map, we're going to have a very, very tough time here because it's going to be King's Row, and a lot of things, a lot of dreams can really be made here, or you get full head at first point and you call it a day.
Many dreams can happen, yes. Whether that is being full held on first point, whether that is both teams completing the map and having to draw it, and the third option is someone actually manages to beat the other. So you have 3 optimal scenarios in favor of either of these teams. But as you said, Low Ground Main struggled a bit at the start of this matchup and have at least brought this Fallen squad back to the ground and really asserting their dominance on that low ground. What is high ground? Nothing but a figment of your imagination, and that is why the Fallen have fallen towards it.
You know what's really interesting now that I'm looking at the bands with the team's logos on it? The Fallen are pretty okay with like banning out DPS or a support, but Low Ground Men are like, they've been very, very cycled towards that tank ban. So finally the Fallen are actually going to take a little bit of a page out of their opponent's book and ban out the Orisa, which arguably has
if you think these teams are going to run out with something like a Kiri Lucio or a Kiri Wuyang, the moment you remove that Kiri, you're forcing it into an honest form of brawl of maybe a Bap Lucio, but no, instead we're removing a Tracer instead, because let's be real, Dex has been doing a lot of work on the Tracer when not being marked by a Cassidy. Looking at Runasapi very clearly.
I mean, Cass can come back. That's the scary part of it all. Cass is definitely able to come back here. So is the Genji. So the composition, save for the Orisa, that's not going to be present. That worked on Runasapi can in fact make a reappearance on King's Row. That's a little scary, and there's nothing to really check it. And besides, of course, there was a Javelin Spin and Javelin Toss, which is, again, not going to be a factor. So I feel like there's a really good ban for the Orisa on both teams that will, of course, really affect exactly what the Brawl heroes are going to be. We did see the Fallen run out on Zarya all the way first point on Saravasa, which, to an extent, had varying levels of success. Inevitably, they did swap over to, I believe, D.Va and then to Orisa to mirror the matchup. But as we go to the head-to-heads, like we said, is a 2-2. No substitutes, just the same 5 guys, coming in and just kind of tearing each other up. This is the last hurrah for both of these teams.
Yep, and if there's one thing I would love to see is that good old traditional Overwatch 1 gameplay of at least who the main tank is and high quality already repping the character in this character scene. Do I wish it was a Ryan v Ryan scenario? Yes, it's classic, it's fun to watch. Is it going to happen? Highly unlikely given the other, honestly, stronger tanks in the game right now. So I'm expecting that now that the Orisa is out, you're probably going to be seeing teams either lock in something like a Junker Queen. You could possibly see the return of the Zarya Reaper composition that the Fallen had shown pretty early on in Saravasa. You could go into something like a Hazard with that downpour, and Akiri Wuyang is another. We saw a bit of that earlier in Samoa was one. So a bunch of different options. All we know is there's no tanky Orisa in the front line, and I think it would be a big cause of concern if you walk out with a Ramatra.
Yeah, I don't think, unfortunately, again, with the new patch having dropped and kind of giving Ramatra the boot, which is, I love Ramatra, it's so sad, I love him so much, but I don't think Ramatra will be chosen here. I completely agree with you. It's just, with Orisa going down, I do think it might go down to maybe the Zarya we had seen a little bit earlier with the Reaper composition, or the Genji to keep that charge up and just kind of full hold on around the statue area. We could also see D.Va be used here, even to an extent Ball. I've seen, arguably, we know Ball this is not Ball's best map in the world. But the
Don't
thing
tell that to
that-
ball players. Ball players will find any reason to play ball and
yup,
get stuff done.
yup.
We've seen people.
Oh, we've seen
people.
it. Oh, we've seen it. Oh,
We've seen ball
it.
OTPs.
We'll be
Getting
like,
some value.
We'll be like, this is not ballable, and then they'll be like, watch this, and and especially first point wrapping around that high ground is so good for a pseudo dive. Could even see Hazard make a reappearance since his departure since the first map. Really, just a big lineup of characters that could replace the presence of the Orisa.
Yeah. Anything goes, and I think it's nice that we're closing out, hopefully, with King's Row, and with what are sensible bans from both of these teams. So I do like the Tracer ban, or there really isn't anyone who, which is normally a Tracer type of job, right? Like the Tracer is normally pushing cart one way or another. You have that out of the equation, so now you're going to have to go through that struggle of figuring out, okay, which teammate's on the cart. Which, depending who you ask, tends to vary, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because normally we do expect a Lucio, right, to be the one on that cart. But for others who want to take the massive space in front of them for those attackers on payload, they'll want that Lucio to be further up with the core team that's holding the front space to allow the team to just kite back easily as needed. And usually the one left on the cart is whichever DPS is the more stagnant one.
Okay. I don't mind it on King's Row because it's not like Gibraltar, for example, where you kind of need that mobility to escape.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
With King's Row, it's very much a little more, especially
tight.
phase. It's tight.
Yes.
It's tight, and you have like little small accesses to health packs. There's the cafe mega pack. There's the mini pack adjacent from it that's on the other side. There and like the other little building. There's the mini pack, I believe, like in the little corridor in the back area. There's a bunch of little small getaways to go towards. So if a stagnant character is also, I think it works on King's Row personally. But we're finally gonna get into this lobby. Here's the head-to-head once again. Again, no swaps. We were. I'm not gonna hold you. We were waiting for a player because we chungused out and we readied too fast. And actually, no one. I don't think someone the other team just didn't ready up. And we thought they did. So my bad. But we're getting things locked and loaded on King's Row. I believe Low Groundman will be defending first. And so that means that eyes are on the Fallen to figure out a method for this attack phase. It certainly is.
I think is this composition I expected Low Ground Main to walk out with 100% within the realm of expectations. There we go. Some sense of normalcy from Fallen with their appetite composition this time around, but I wouldn't want to be Swag Daddy out in the open with my head clearly available for Dex to take a shot with, so I hope we hide soon.
Oh, yo, I don't know. Dex was immediately caught up by the water projectile from Swag Daddy. Benno Games will be committing to the Pharah with no mercy, so Medkit will be going back over to the Kiriko, and we're gonna have the backline of the Wuyong. It's me missing my boy. Wuyong and Kiriko instead as the backline for the Fallen, mirroring what Low Groundman have been utilizing for the most part pretty well. Perf is up here on the high ground, kind of in a trapped out spot with High Quality, who will be backing up back to the team here on this Hazard. Very slow start here, but Pred, as predicted, will be the dive of choice. Not without taking down Ben on that hit scan. Kind of is just his main role here. Otherwise, really good push in from the Fallen, keeping Dex on this high ground to keep layering in this poke damage into the archways.
Yep. Dropping very low is Perf, so they're going to have to chill just a bit, and Pred back in with his Cassidy, so we're gonna have another honest 5v5 if Perf manages to get out of the way from this very tiny room after being walled off.
We got to take care of Dex at some point. You can see Perf going up to that high ground, but Pred finds Dex immediately, almost just like what I just said. You got to take care of Dex, and we definitely saw so from Pred, kind finding the aerial battle in his favor against Ben, and just like that, the backliner forced it back up, not able to really look at Perf, who was already set up for a dive on the opposing high ground on the window area. So just like that, a very clean turnaround here for the side of low ground main, forcing that hazard swap.
Well, you're going to have Hazard v Hazard, but what low ground main will have first is going to be a Kiriko ultimate. Actually, both sides having both their support ultimates. So you're going to have a Kiri Rush v Rush scenario, most likely a Wuyang ultimate onto one of the Genjis in this engagement.
Oh, wow, okay. So forcing the Kitchen Rush through the Aldersworth Hotel. High quality goes around. The rest of the team was, mind you, still playing in the hotel. We have the Deadeye and we have the Dragon Blade gonna be committed here from low ground main, to supplement the lack of a hazard. And mind you, 4 ultimates have now been committed from low ground main against the bullet shot, against the Kitchen Rush, against the Tidal Blast from the Fallen. And it's gonna be low ground main who will be able to find that sort of solstice in maintaining this fight up against the side of the Fallen. We do lose out on Pred, however, with Wander finding a sneaky elimination, but high quality is back 85% to the downpour, which could be the make or break before letting the Fallen cap this point.
Yep, percentage ticking up. High quality is going to have that downpour and is going to open with it.
Ooh, finds Benno gains. Perf is also stuck in a very bad spot. The jagged wall right next to them, or next to him, and Perf is looking very, very low. Needs to back up to the Kiriko, forces Suzu to be used defensively here. What's the next response? Because Fallen has a lot of things online here, that being the downpour. Not going to be Mudkip, however, and maybe even going down Wander, but Wander finds a mini pack around the statue, but they cannot back out in fast enough against that slash and dash.
Yep, Battle Game's still alive, cleaning up for the Fallen and hoping to get another trade and manages to do so. Both DPS down for the middle ground main means it is up to high quality to continue contesting this point all on his lonesome, and Battle Game's holding to the blade just for this next push because it's going to be free for them now that high quality is down. So if I am low ground main, I am backing up. I am going to regroup hard with my respective hazard, right? Maybe hold the corner closest to the second point capture and regrouping from there, because there's no sense staggering at this first corner even if you want to hold it, because no tank, you're just gonna get run over, especially when the Fallen have what looks like 4 ultimates in this next engagement. If you're low ground main, you only have 2, so you're going to have to be really calculating on when to rift them.
We're seeing the Tidal Blast and the Dragon Blade get used onto Ben. No games, and of course it's gonna find Fred. We trade off for Mudkip though, but it's gonna be a lot of these trade-offs. But Ben can't even find the last elimination needed onto the side of Swag Daddy. And unfortunately, it was just gonna be a lot more of a messier fight, continuously just kind of going back and forth, back and forth. Dex finds 2 under his belt before inevitably going down to Saucer, who, mind you, is still in that backline and just now being sought out by Wander.
Well, Saucer being saucy by saying, hey, rather than regroup with my team, the only other teammate I could have TP'd out to had died, I'm gonna just go straight to point and try to get a trade. Manages to get Dex, so it should be a fair game, especially now that Kind has this blade. They can open this up with their respective Kiri Rush. So this is going to be a Kiri Rush situation.
Oh, no Genji to be seen. The blade does go wide on the back line, but everyone's out there in time. Now we're going over to Dex, who is trying to retreat towards the alleyway and still can't find the elimination. A little bit of headshot damage, and there it is. Right, that it comes in for the assist onto Mudkip and Dex. What a response. What a hold here for low groundman, and holding on to the Deadeye and the downpour, forcing now off the Freya, going over to Cassidy.
Some swag coming in from Swag Daddy off low ground main means that you're holding comfortably at the end of that second point. You still have that downpour, you have that high noon, you have things to zone out everyone else from the Fallen. And I think in that way what's going to happen is Wander's going to try to build up towards a Tidal Blast and then maybe pop it onto the Genji or onto maybe this Hazard. Or get a kill.
Oh! I mean, Dex out a beautiful kill to Swag Daddy, but here comes a high noon. Actually gets shut down by the jagged wall. What great premonition! And the Suzu negates the stun effect of that downpour. What a response from the Fallen, completely negating not 1 but 2 big ultimates that low groundman could have used to recapture and even hold second point, but they faltered a tiny bit.
Yep, massive picks from the Fallen pretty early on, so that put low ground main into a disadvantage, forcing Pred to play this Sojourn, because I think that E ability of the Sojourn should allow for a bit more control of these tighter spaces, corners, or even this high ground that these hazards want to play on. No ultimates to work with for Fallen just yet. Maybe this blade will be built up soon, and that's going to be the same case for low ground main, except they will have a tidal blast with it, so that might spell disaster for the Fallen.
I have to agree with you. This Tidal Blast from both of these Wu Yongs have been extremely powerful as of late. Dex going down though, kind caught between a rock and a hard place, I will say. Gets caught by Wander, and then there's continuously just swap after swaps after trades. The blade gets procced. We're sub 50 HP, but not for getting Pred out of there in the nick of time. Point is still moving briskly for the Fallen as we are now committing the Tidal Blast. And everyone has immediately cleared the space.
I mean, really, it was an easy getaway card for Nyan Mudkip. They were the ones pushing the card, so they could just TP back to everyone else on the team. And they're going to be at an advantage for this Curie Rush to open up as low ground main doesn't have theirs.
They sure don't, but they are just about 10% away from it, but they're not going to have Swag Daddy to help even in the slightest. And they're being super pushed back, but we're going to be seeing the Dragon Blade from Kind make an appearance. Cannot get to the high ground quite yet. Can't even find Dex retreating. Even the Suzu able to keep the Sojourn alive a little bit longer, but there we go. We have now built up enough time not only to get the continued rush, but also commit this downpour. We now look at Dex, who is so low, just kind of battling out against this blocking hazard. It's just poor old Genji, poor old Ben, trying to stay alive in these last 5 seconds. It's just Wander alive, but I'm not even sure he'll be able to come for a touch with everyone looking at him. That's the end all be all. No drawable map today, just a winner and a loser for round 2, or for week 2.
I mean, teams keeping it honest by making sure we don't go to a map 6. Here, folks, is going to be the distance and number of points that low ground main must cover and beyond in order to, win this specific map. And we take a look at the stats, and my gosh, Wander has just been staying alive. I'm just looking at that 2-death counter right now.
That's Wu Yang, baby. You don't die. And look at the damage output as well. Compared to Swag Daddy,
oh yeah,
double damage output as Wu Yang. That's crazy.
But we do like seeing. Let's be clear, on our support players, we do like seeing the equal number of damage and healing, right?
Oh,
that
we sure do. Yup.
That means your team is at least knows how to really play corners and natural cover in order not to take in massive damage and force you to up your healing numbers instead of damage numbers. But at the same time, when you compare it to the numbers of low ground main, yes, it seems like there isn't as much damage coming out from the support line of Saucer and Swag Daddy, but they're keeping the other players alive and really capitalizing on enabling the other players of the team. So I will not be surprised if that trend is going to continue in this attacking half for low ground main.
Okay, Kind trying to be a little sneaky with a little Widow headshot, but doesn't really find anyone. In fact, Dex saw that, was like, oh, let me leave. And did not allow any sort of early pick here for low ground main to utilize in their favor. We're going to be committing to this hazard composition here. Hazard brawl-ish dive from both of these teams as well. However, the rotation from low ground main is to go to his upper high ground and maybe go for a full wraparound. You can already see high quality fort comes around the back end under the stairs, gets carried a little bit, but Kind will be looked at by Benno Games. However, I was gonna say the healing from Wu Yang should be able to help him in the 1v1, but Dex finds a rail shot anyway, and we trade off both Genjis in this extremely kind of long-winded first engagement. But without the supports from low ground main, we can start to commit to a quick regroup.
Do they know? Oh, they know. I was wondering if they knew Pred was there, because if Pred gets out with their life, that is game changer. You did force the cooldown though of the respect. Never mind. Never got out with his life. I stand corrected. I'm sorry, Perf. I'm sorry.
Literally 1 second to slide, by the way, too. So unfortunate. In fact, we're going to go over to the Cassidy instead. I do like it from Pred. I think has been his strongest showing in all 5 maps today. 2.5 minutes left, by the way. So this is starting to become more of a... more relying on our ultimate, I would say, for low ground main to start breaking things through the Fallen's defense. It's been so good so far. Great scout onto Ben. Great retreat from Ben as well. Now we gotta clear out the hotel and come back to main because our hazard's super low. Walking with this continued rush is beautiful, but there's a Dragon Blade and there's gonna be absolutely zero benefit from it.
Downpour committed by Perf in order to get something for the value, especially now that both Genjis are down, but this Cassidy still roaming pretty high and mighty for low ground main and allows him to continue pushing, especially with this Tidal Blast onto high quality. Manages to get a couple to get this Kiriko out of the way and hopefully get back into the team, into the safety, but none whatsoever.
No, just couldn't. The Tidal Blast was so smart, but mind you, in the back of things, there was a complete just shift in the positioning in favor of the Fallen. They are able to take down Kind. They're able to build up this overclock. But they unfortunately did use a lot of their expensive ultimates, so they're gonna be looking into the barrel of this Deadeye, of this Blade, and this Downpour all at once.
And I think that's going to spell a bit of trouble for them. So if I am the Fallen, the moment you see this low ground main team push in with maybe a push in past this choke, you open with a Sojourn ultimate, and that's just exactly what Dex does.
Oh, the overclock here is around the statue is so good. I mean, you can see everybody cowering in fear, not really wanting to play any sort of games with Dex and whatsoever. Only 60 seconds left, by the way, guys. There is nothing to be seen, but the Downpour comes in. What a Suzu! But the Deadeye and the Blade will both be used. One gets 2 eliminations, 3 in fact. Kind very much always able to find so much value with these Dragon Blades, especially when coupled with the offensive pressure from Saucer and Swag Daddy.
The late deaths of Beno and Perf might make this a bit dicey for the Fallen to recontest. So if I am them with this percentage thinking, you fight this first corner because by then all 5 of you are going to be there and it's going to be healthy for all of you. And the ultimate bank is going to be in your favor. You're going to have your Downpour and that Kiriko rush to defend. Low ground main will have to sustain through maybe just this Kiriko ultimate.
Okay, Suzu gets used early here. At the very least, there's a continued rush from Saucer, as you said. There's also the mirror, in fact, of it. But the Downpour would be one for the book. So Pride goes in for a little bit of a little sneaky little flank there. Unfortunately, gets caught up by Dex and the rest of the team. And just like that, the Fallen need to just push in. Continued rush was committed by Saucer, and there's nothing else to follow up on it.
Yep. But that's, if you are low ground main, that is fine. You force another big ultimate from the Fallen. But you're going to have to worry about this double support ultimate from the Fallen, which they are definitely going to use in combination with each other. That or one of them with a Genji Blade of Veno games, which he's building up to.
I love that we went first, actually. Swag Daddy is in there, actually helping get the elimination onto Perf. Here comes the Dragon Blade with the Tidal Blast, but finds no stuns, finds no eliminations either. What a retreat from the backline. What a response from the tank of high quality, who is continuously keeping everybody in check, making sure their backline is staying nice and safe. And of course, Kind's there just to finish off the last little bit of eliminations.
Yep, high quality with that quality decision to turn around, peel for that blading Genji, because if you're able to whittle down a Genji in your team on its own, that should be an easy melt, especially when Pred was still up in all of that. But you have this Downpour, you're building towards a high noon. That high noon is going to zone, but this is going to zone first, that Downpour.
Downpour being used so well here, making a lot of space. Also kind of separating Perf a little bit from the back line. But we are seeing the overclock re-emergence from Dex for next about 3, 2, 1. And everyone's out of there. We're re-engaging with an aggressive Kitsune Rush and the Deadeye from Pred. The fight will be committed, and we're actually going to be negating the entire time, the time bank from that Deadeye. So not really allowing Pred to get any of those beautiful red skulls and clicking some heads in that sense. Otherwise, we have Kind ready and on this high ground with his Blade, and we're going to be going right into the air, finding Wander first. Good Suzu from the backline, keeping Kind alive as we are now trickling into basically the win con territory and really pushing Dex all the way back. But unfortunately, we're losing out a lot of these trade-offs. It's just Dex alive, it's just Mudkip, and just like that, the rest of the team have now been depleted. 2 minutes, or just under that, to go to that golden box of victory.
You have a Tidal Blast on Swag Daddy for low ground main, and you are most likely going to pop that onto your Genji, maybe help your Kind build towards another Genji Blade in the process, because that's the only ultimate you have. The Fallen is going to be at an ult advantage, maybe not so much with their Genji now.
Kitsune Rush does go wide, finds I'll say Big Daddy, sorry, Swag Daddy. We also have Perf going down at the exact same time. There goes Wander, we trade off Kind. but we still have a lot of people on this card removing it, and we also see high quality just in there. Oh my god, last fight here, Thor.
Last fight, minute 10. If I am the low ground main, I soft disengage, have ourselves to be a full 5, especially when there's going to be a Genji Blade Tidal Blast happening at the same time from the Fallen. So I want to build towards ultimates to work with. Maybe that rush, maybe another downpour. Something to bait this all out.
Tidal Blast committed with the Dragon Blade. Very classic, easy, quick way to clean things up and start to get a little bit of a resurgence, a little bit of a breath of fresh air for the Fallen. What a complete reversal. 3K for Bendo Games, but we have 3 ultimates for low ground main.
I'm gonna call this combo Blade Blast or something like BB at some point, because literally this has been like the new Nano Blade combo, but already opening up is a rush from the Fallen being aggressive.
The rush and the overclock, they know they have basically no time, and they can kind of dump these ultimates into their spawn area. They can't get out. We have 15 seconds left to go. All corners are being looked at. All entrances are being guarded. We're walking with the continued rush first and foremost. That I will be used next. I did after the downpour. There is a touch after the car has now backed up right to that corner, giving a little bit of a chance for our team of low ground main to get the reverse sweep or fall victim to the Fallen. Perf going array solo, Mudkip no worse for wear. It is just an overtime fight. We all have to stay on the objective. We have to build to the Tidal Blast. We have to build to the Dragon Blade for low ground main to get a chance of this reverse sweep.
Yep, Kind building up towards it, has it, looking for an opening, and does that just as well.
Now looking at Dex. Dex goes down. 2 on the card, by the way. Bendo Games also
Definitely kept up, was managing to keep up. That King's Row game went the distance, right? Even though at the end of the day, it was a 3-2 in favor of low ground main. They really kept it competitive. And that's what you want to see from players who moved up in tiers.
Oh, they popped off. Like, I fought against them last season, and they were menaces 1000%. I casted them last season. At least some of the players that helped get upgraded to that Master's tier, there is something very special with the Fallen, able to go toe-to-toe with a 3rd place team of last season. Again, very insanely stacked season as well. Season 15 was. Quickly reminder of the bans we had. I think they all had really good reasoning. I think some of them can be definitely swapped around. Maybe the cast a little bit later, maybe the Tracer a little bit earlier. I think here and there were just a couple of times where these bans could have been placed in other maps, but like I said, the what's it called? The hero pool from both these teams is just so wide that it's all just hindsight. It's all talking in hindsight. I think they were impactful in the moment, especially for low ground main.
Exactly, but we will be taking a short break as we head to an interview with our winners, some representatives from low ground main, to tell us what was going on behind the scenes from this pretty exciting map 5 matchup. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
You know we had a Game 5 series. You know we had a reverse sweep. So you know we had to get not just one, but two interview candidates for you guys today. We have Kind and we have Swag Daddy 69 coming at you. Guys, it has been an intense 2 hours of back-to-back games, and you got the reverse sweep. What is your reaction? How did you guys feel winning that Kings Row game with just 20 seconds to spare?
Take this Krabby because I need a minute, bro.
Yeah, the heart was definitely pounding right there. Like we had some bad deaths towards the end there. Like we got picked off pretty quick, but we managed to like somehow just like claw our way back.
I've never heard our VC louder at the end of that game, bro. I've never heard us get that hyped. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Well, definitely a cause for celebration because even we were saying, hey, are we actually getting this reverse sweep? Because it looked like you guys picked up so well after that, first initial break. But tell me, what was the vibe of the voice chat call with the team after, those first two maps, which looked not too great for you guys?
I think after I'll take this. After the first two maps, I think it was pretty rough. Honestly, let's keep it a buck. It was pretty rough, but after we won a few fights on Runasapi, it just felt like it started clicking, and then we got a big lead, and then from there, it really just felt like it was a new sort of series.
Yeah, 100%. It felt like I was watching a brand new, like who is this little ground main? Who? Like, you guys are just completely, with all due respect, wipe the floor on Runasapi. And I have to know the mental shift there. What changed? I know you guys just locked in, simple to say, but going down 0-2, knowing you're on the cusp of being 3-0'd by a team that just now picked up players going into Masters, and you guys won 3rd place last season. And you're like, what was the mental like? Especially during the disconnect. Oh my god, I need to know the comms. I need to know the mental.
Yeah, you take that.
So like legitimately, the mental is like we're not gonna boom. Like we're here. We got here. Let's lock in. Legitimately, it was like, all right, we know what they're gonna do. Let's just counteract that, and that's exactly what we did. We just counteracted that, and then I think that once we got that momentum going of we know how they're going to play, since they've done it for the last two maps and just rolled us, we're just going to do the opposite of that. And that's all we did. And just like, we got that momentum and just kept rolling with it.
I won't say too much because we're probably going to face them later on, but we did identify one specific thing that definitely helped us get the win today after the second map.
Ooh, sounds like you guys found, that piece of how this team, how the Fallen like to play. And I did mention it on cast that you guys seem to have figured out how to play against the composition that the Fallen wants to run. But we know it's been a long day. It's been a 2-hour type of match. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you for any shout outs that you want to give, whether it's to your fellow teammates, coaches, or to whoever. The floor is yours.
Let's shout out my supports. Hold on. Last fight with Blade, I actually asked for all the care in the world and they gave it to me. So, I got to shout them out.
We got to give a shout out to our tank too. Quality. I mean, they had to ban Orisa after what we did to them on Runasapi. They had to.
We were like, wait, this guy's kind of different on the Orisa, no?
100%. They had to. There was no choice. Yeah, like we definitely locked in right there.
Just give me the care. Give me the care. And you
literally was screaming for it.
That's all we heard in VC was, I need all the care. And we gave it to him. And
I mean, there was a Suzu. There's a Suzu that came from Narnia that hit you all the way on like the last bit of 3rd point. And I was like, oh yeah, you're chilling. Like
like once he bladed, I was like, oh, they're peeling hard for him. And then we just like somehow managed to give him all the care in the world because their entire team stopped looking at us and looked at him. And it was just like, all right, we're giving him everything we got. And he got it and we secured it for sure.
Secured the dub.
Yo, that was a movie. Absolutely fantastic work, guys. The reverse sweep is something to be so proud of. Definitely a VOD to look back on fondly. And with that being said, thank you so much for your time, the both of you, not just in your match, but also for this absolutely fantastic and entertaining interview. You deserve the win. You deserve to celebrate with everyone else. Definitely tell the teams, or tell the team, that congratulations from the prod side of things, and we cannot wait to see you again in the rest of these matches.
Thank you.
100%. Thank you.
No problem. Have a good one, guys.
You have a great night.
Ooh. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. 3-2 reverse sweep. I would not have it any other way. It was just a pleasure. Also, just fantastic energy from these guys.
Yep, I'm sure the energy is just high and great from everyone on that team, because they really did pull out this win at the end of the day. But I think that is pretty much all that is for some CGL matches today, but we do have some tomorrow, if I'm correct.
We do, but we're gonna do a quick little review of what happened today, because we did have an EMEA game earlier at 2000 UK time. We had DYS with budget approved with a 3-0 against Dragon's Abyss, and then just this last game 5 banger from Low Ground Main and the Fallen. And you're absolutely right, Thor. We have not just one, not just two, but like mad games this week. This Thursday, there's Friday night games, there's Saturday night games, there's Sunday night games for both EMEA and North America. So please tune in to CGL 1, 2, 3, 4, all of them, for support on your favorite teams in their divisions, all the way from Plat up to the open tier. In the meantime, any final words before we close out the stream?
You know, there's nothing more that can be said other than this has been a great map 5 matchup and really went the distance even in that very final map. So for everyone who has tuned in, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for our production for keeping things up and running even with some of the disconnects that happened on, the Overwatch client side. But hey, until next time, is me, Thoriumea, on your Colorcast, and this is Modaneva on your play. We'll see you again soon, maybe in some other time, but everyone else, have a good night.